My English teacher forced us to sign contracts demanding complete silence in class, then handed me detention for whispering to help a kid during a panic attack while she graded papers. Can you imagine being trapped in a classroom, suffocating, while the very person sworn to protect you just watches, maybe even laughs? Because that's what happened to me, all thanks to a simple mistake and a teacher who thought she knew better than doctors. It was science class, a completely normal day. I reached into my bag for what I thought was my granola bar. One bite, and my blood ran cold. Peanut butter. No, no, no. My friend's protein bar must have gotten mixed up with mine when we studied. My throat was already starting to tickle, a terrifying, familiar sensation. I need the emergency EpiPen. I gasped, my voice already a bit hoarse. I just ate peanuts. Miss Blade, the substitute teacher, looked up from her desk. She was casually munching on a bag of peanuts herself. Her eyes narrowed. Don't be dramatic. Allergies are all in your head. My heart hammered. No, you don't understand. My tongue felt thick, a balloon inflating in my mouth. I'd left my own EpiPen at home, foolishly thinking, every classroom has emergency ones, right? I pointed to the med cabinet. Please, the med cabinet. She just scoffed. Sit down. But then, she stood up, walked over to the cabinet, and instead of opening it, she leaned against it, a smile playing on her lips. You know what my parents did when I claimed I was allergic to cats? They locked me in a room with 3 of them. By morning, I was cured. Katie, my best friend, was out of her seat in a flash. She's not faking. She needs help now. Miss Blade blocked her, a wall of cruel indifference. The only thing killing her is her own mind. Then, she did something I will never forget. She walked to the classroom door, turned the deadbolt, and pocketed the key. No one leaves until she admits she's faking it. This victim mentality is destroying your generation. Panic erupted. Call 911, someone yelled, fumbling for their phone. Phone's in the box? Now, Miss Blade snapped, grabbing the collection box. Or you're all suspended. My throat was closing. It felt like someone was tightening a belt around it. 6 minutes. That's all I had before the swelling became irreversible. My doctor had made me memorize that number. And that's when Daniel, my ex, decided to chime in, sealing his fate forever in my mind. She pulled the same drama last year, he sneered. Miss Blade beamed at him. See? Even he knows you're faking. She walked back to my desk, her bag of peanuts still in hand. My parents proved allergies are psychological when I was 5. She grabbed a handful and slowly, deliberately, crushed them over my desk. Exposure therapy. This is for your own good. Peanut dust. Everywhere. My nose started bleeding, hot and wet. My lips were huge, swollen, and burning. Katie screamed, "Look at her!" Miss Blade just shoved Katie back down. Psychosomatic reaction. She believes she's dying, so her body mimics it. That's when Tommy, who sat a few rows over, touched his neck. His eyes started swelling shut. I can't see. I can't see. Total chaos. Kids were dumping backpacks, throwing things. Desperate. Does anyone have an EpiPen? Sarah was sobbing, wiping blood from my nose with her shirt. Please don't die. Please don't die. Jack ran to the door, yanking on the handle. Open this right now, please. Miss Blade just laughed. Sit down, or you're expelled. Jack kept yanking, the whole frame rattling. Help, somebody. Other kids joined him, pounding on the door window. Mr. Peterson from the next classroom looked in. Miss Blade stepped in front of the window, blocking his view, gave him a dismissive thumbs up, and closed the blinds. He just walked away. This is kidnapping. Katie shrieked. 3 minutes left. Blood dripped onto my desk. Tommy clawed at his throat. Lisa was in the corner, throwing up from pure terror. 2 girls huddled, crying. Some kids just sat frozen, paralyzed at their desks. Miss Blade actually laughed. Oscar-worthy performance, though a bit over the top with the fake blood. Daniel, my ex? Tackled Jack. I know her better. Yeah, that's why you called her dramatic. Jack shot back. Look at this, Miss Blade said, popping another peanut into her mouth. Fighting over the attention seeker. This is exactly what you wanted. I felt myself turning blue. Foam bubbled at the corners of my mouth. Katie, with a primal scream, smashed the med cabinet with a chair. Miss Blade grabbed her wrist. Destruction of property. That's expulsion. She's dying. Mike roared, tackling Miss Blade from behind. You want to go to jail for assault? She shrieked, scrambling up. I'll press charges on all of you. I couldn't even stand anymore. My only thought was the fire extinguisher on the wall. I literally had to crawl, hands and knees, dragging myself across the floor. Look at her performance. Miss Blade cackled, crawling for sympathy. My body wasn't mine anymore. 1 second, I was raising the fire extinguisher, aiming for the door. The next, I was covering my face, glass showering down around me. Crash! Miss Blade spun around. Vandalism. You're going to prison. I reached through the broken glass, slicing my arm on the wire, fumbling for the deadbolt. Stop, huh? Miss Blade screamed, but Mike and Katie held her back. I turned the lock. The door flew open. I collapsed in the hallway just as other teachers came running. Call 911, someone screamed. Miss Blade was still yelling from inside. They are all faking. This is mass hysteria. The paramedics said I was clinically dead for 3 minutes. They worked on me right there in the hallway while more ambulances arrived. Miss Blade was fired, blacklisted from every school. But that was just the beginning. 2 weeks later, we were back in class when our teacher broke the news. Tommy, diagnosed with permanent partial blindness, he'd taken his own life. All thanks to Miss Blade. That's when I knew getting her fired wasn't enough. We had to destroy her. The words hung in the air, heavy and dark. Katie's hand found mine under the table, squeezing so hard my knuckles cracked. Her eyes were red, puffy, but something else burned there now. Something hard and angry. After class, still feeling weak, I had my follow-up. The doctor ran a scope down my throat, showing me the scarring on his computer screen. My airways were permanently narrowed by 15%. He made me practice with a new EpiPen, stabbing it into an orange until I got it perfect. He had me do it 3 times before he'd sign my discharge papers. Walking through the main hallway the next day, Mr. Peterson approached me. His face went white. He tanged and practically ran into an empty classroom. My fists clenched. He'd watched me dying through that window and walked away. No sympathy. None. That night, my phone buzzed. Katie. She was making a group chat with everyone from that classroom. Sarah joined. Then Mike, Jack, even Lisa, who'd thrown up. We needed to get our story straight for what was coming. My mom drove me to the police station the next morning. The officer made me repeat the part about the locked door again and again. 2 hours, going over every detail of that 6-minute timeline. He asked if I had proof beyond witness statements. 3 days later, Tommy's funeral was in the school gym. His mom stood at the front, clutching his school photo, sobbing. After everyone left, I walked up to his picture. I touched his face. I promised him Miss Blade would truly pay. By Monday, the whole school was buzzing, but not the way we expected. Some kids called it mass hysteria, said we overreacted. At lunch, a girl from another class said Tommy was being dramatic about his blindness. I threw my tray in the trash and left before I did something stupid. Jack found me by my locker. He apologized, again, for trying to give me mouth-to-mouth. Said he panicked. I told him it was okay, even though remembering his mouth on mine while I was choking still made my skin crawl. That night, Daniel sent me a long, rambling Instagram message. Sorry, but not really sorry, claiming he was keeping everyone calm and still knew me better than anyone. I blocked him. Instantly. The school nurse called me down the next day. New allergy action plan. EpiPen stations in locked boxes throughout the building. Each needed a special key, but I noticed the keys were only in the main office. Seriously, that afternoon, an email from the school district. Important update regarding recent incident. 3 sentences. Miss Blade terminated, banned from working in any school due to student safety protocols. No mention of me dying, tummy going blind, nothing real. My mom read it over my shoulder, then threw her phone across the room. Katie showed up at my house around 7. Huge notebook, folder bursting with papers. If we're really going to destroy Miss Blade, we need evidence for more than just her getting fired. My hands still shook sometimes. I got dizzy standing up too fast. Katie wrote it all down in her neat handwriting. The next morning, Principal Barfield demanded a meeting. He sat behind his desk, hands folded, talking about handling this carefully and not causing unnecessary drama for the school. My mom stood so fast her chair fell backward. Unnecessary drama. Watching my daughter die for 3 minutes was unnecessary drama. He actually had the nerve to say the school had taken appropriate action and we should move forward. 2 days later, Detective Darren Boudreau called. He was investigating criminal charges, child endangerment and false imprisonment. He came over with a recorder. When I told him about the locked door, he stopped writing. Looked up. That changes everything legally. That night, trying to do homework, I couldn't breathe. Felt like I was back on that classroom floor, crawling, throat closing up. I grabbed a notebook and wrote down every single detail I could remember about those 6 minutes. The peanut butter taste, the blood dripping, the cold floor tiles. I needed to get it out of my head. Katie organized a meeting. Everyone who wanted to help. In her basement, we made a plan. Destroying Miss Blade meant 3 things. Criminal charges for jail, civil lawsuits for her money, and making sure everyone knew what she did so she could never hurt another kid. Mike researched cases. Sarah collected medical records. Everyone had a job. My mom found Ray Bellamy, a lawyer specializing in school negligence. In his office, surrounded by awards, he explained we needed to prove the school knew Miss Blade was dangerous. Employment records, complaints from other schools. The discovery process would get us her files. We'd find out if the school ignored warning signs. I started seeing a therapist, Empt Bloom, twice a week. Panic attacks every time I smelled peanut butter or heard a door lock. He taught me breathing exercises. He told me what I went through was real trauma, and my anger was justified. I shouldn't feel bad about wanting justice. A week later, Gordon B.S. from the district's legal department scheduled interviews. He pulled us out of class one by one. But it was obvious. He was protecting the school. He kept asking leading questions. Did we misunderstand Miss Blade? Was she just trying to teach a lesson? He actually asked Katie if Miss Blade might have been planning to open the cabinet after making her point. Katie just stayed him down. Miss Blade watched her turn blue and foam at the mouth. What point was she trying to make? Exactly. Then, a local reporter, Jasper Beckwith, started calling. Katie thought we should talk to him. Gray Bellamy told us to wait. Reporters twist things. 2 days later, in Gray Bellamy's office, I signed stacks of papers, witness statements, the locked door detail. The retainer was way more than my family could afford, but he promised a payment plan. My mom's hand shook as she signed for me. Gray's walls were covered with clippings about cases he'd won. He said 15 witnesses made our case stronger than most. Tommy's vigil. We walked to the football field. Kids talked about him. When a sophomore mentioned Tommy spent his last week scared about losing his sight, I had to walk away. My chest was so tight, I threw up behind the bleachers. Daniel followed me, mumbling he never meant to hurt me. I turned to him, tears streaming down my face. Calling me dramatic while I was dying is something I will never forgive. He just stood there, mouth open, as I walked away. Gray called. He'd filed official records requests for Miss Blade's training certificates, emails about the incident. They had 30 days to respond. He warned they'd claim documents were missing. Gordon B.S. scheduled an interview with me, and Gray insisted on being there. Gordon tried to make it sound like Miss Blade was just one bad teacher. I made sure to mention the locked cabinet and Mr. Peterson walking away 3 times. Jasper Beckwith interviewed more students. Katie said he looked really upset when she described Tommy crying about going blind. Detective Boudreau updated me. The DA was looking at false imprisonment and reckless child endangerment. Having 2 students with severe reactions, and Tommy's death, made the case much stronger. My next therapist session with Bloom, anger. It was eating me up. He helped me see that destroying Miss Blade wasn't the real goal, but stopping her from ever hurting another kid was. It helped. A little. Gray tried to get hallway security footage of Mr. Peterson walking away. The school said it was under legal hold. Gray smiled. Good. Now they can't delete it. He sent official preservation letters. Now, if anything disappeared, they'd face criminal charges. That same week, an op-ed. My blood boiled. Our situation was a moral panic. Miss Blade, a victim of helicopter parents. Allergies, overblown. The online comments were a war zone. Some shared allergy horror stories. Others called us drama queens looking for attention. My mom screenshot the worst comments. Katie's parents had to change their phone number. The records request came back. Miss Blade had 2 previous complaints at other schools. She told a diabetic kid he was dramatic for checking his blood sugar. He passed out, hit his head. Another time, she refused to let a girl use her inhaler during an asthma attack. Gray added them to our pile of evidence. Then, things got worse. Some idiot from our class posted on social media, Miss Blade was trying to kill us for insurance money. It went viral. Suddenly, we looked like crazy conspiracy theorists. Katie made them take it down, but the damage was done. News outlets started calling us the students who cried wolf. Gray had to send a statement. 2 days later, FedEx delivered thick envelopes from Miss Blade's lawyer. Cease and desist letters. They threatened to sue us for defamation. My parents freaked out. Gray called an emergency meeting. Intimidation tactic. But be careful what you post. No more social media about the case. No talking to reporters without him. No wild theories. We created a shared Google Drive. Mike scanned documents. Sarah handled medical records. Katie organized witness statements. I worked on the timeline. It made everything feel real. School was getting harder. In chemistry, someone opened a bag of trail mix with nuts, and I completely lost it. My throat closed up. The teacher called the nurse, who implemented my new emergency exit plan. I could leave any class if I felt triggered. It was so embarrassing. Everyone watched me run out, gasping. The school board meeting. Katie had a 3-page statement, but they only gave her 3 minutes. They cut her off mid-sentence. Parents yelled, "Cover up." 3 parents got escorted out. The board said they'd take our concerns under advisement. We were crushed. Then, bad news from the DA's office. Still waiting for final medical reports. Process could take months. Even if charged, she might get a plea deal. Hard to prove. My dad slammed his phone down. The screen cracked. Tommy died for nothing. But then, Jasper got an interesting email. Someone who worked with Miss Blade at a summer camp 10 years ago. Miss Blade used to brag about her parents curing her cat allergy. She'd tell anyone who mentioned allergies, that's how all allergies should be handled. Dates, names. This proved her dangerous beliefs went back years. She knew exactly what she was doing. Gray used all this. He officially filed our civil lawsuit against Miss Blade and the school district. Damages for medical costs. Trauma. Tommy's death. Over 100 pages. It hit me how serious this was. 2 days later, Katie texted me a link. I threw my phone. Miss Blade had posted a 20-minute video on YouTube, calling herself the real victim, crying fake tears. Cancel culture was destroying her life. Comments were full of "kids these days are too soft." I spent the next 3 hours throwing up. The district called an emergency meeting. early settlements with non-disclosure agreements. They wanted us to shut up. Some parents started signing. My mom looked at the check, doing math in her head about my hospital bills. Other parents yelled, "Blood money!" Katie's dad ripped up his offer. Then, Gordon, our lawyer, dropped a folder on the table. Training records. Miss Blade had skipped the mandatory module on anaphylaxis 3 years ago. She claimed equivalent training, but no one ever checked. The superintendent's face went white. Gordon had also found emails where administrators ignored warnings about her behavior. Miss Blade enjoyed having power. She made weird comments about allergies being made up by pharmaceutical companies. The district lawyers whispered, "Ask for a recess." We sat for 2 hours while they panicked. Mr. Peterson showed up at my house that weekend. He sat on our porch steps, couldn't look me in the eye. He admitted he'd seen us. Miss Blade's thumbs up made him think everything was fine. He trusted her. His hands shook as he explained his nightmares about Tommy. I told him his guilt didn't undo his choice. He left crying, but I felt nothing for him. The district announced new policies. All classroom doors unlocked during instruction. Emergency EpiPens in bright red unlocked boxes. Principal Barfield held an assembly, avoiding any mention of why these changes were suddenly necessary. It felt like such a small victory. Kids were still having panic attacks in that classroom, even with new desks and fresh paint. Jack started coming over, helping me prepare for depositions. We'd sit at my kitchen table. He'd ask practice questions. I tried not to cry, not to get too angry. He was patient. We set boundaries. His presence helped more than I expected. Until Daniel. He betrayed everyone. Leaked our private group chat screenshots to some blogger defending Miss Blade. Edited them to make himself look reasonable, us look like we were exaggerating for attention. The messages spread. Crisis actors, ruining an innocent woman's life. We kicked Daniel out. His reputation tanked. Kids knocked his books out of his hands. Even teachers looked at him with disgust. In therapy, and I worked on my age to confront Miss Blade. I'd dream about showing up at her house, making her understand. Helped me see that legal channels were safer, more effective. The temptation faded, but the nightmares stayed. Jasper Beckwood's full investigation finally published. Our real names. He'd spent months on it. Tommy's declining vision. The note his parents found. Public opinion shifted dramatically. Miss Blade's video looked like Olympic-level mental gymnastics. The article went viral. Then, Gordon found the smoking gun. 5 years ago, Miss Blade had locked students in during a tornado drill for discipline. A kid had a panic attack, passed out. The school quietly let her resign. They passed the problem to us. The other district's HR admitted in a deposition that they just wanted her gone. 2 days later, Miss Blade supporters found us online. My phone blew up. Liar. Attention seeker. Katie got death threats. Gray told us to screenshot everything, but not respond. Tommy killed himself because he was weak, not because of what happened. I blocked over 40 accounts. 3 weeks later, my deposition. Miss Blade's lawyer grilled me for 4 hours. Same questions, different ways. Trying to trip me up. I stuck to the facts. Crawling. Blood. Throat closing. Miss Blade sat across from me. When I described crawling, her face went white. Her lawyer called a recess. The DA called 2 months later. Criminal charges. Miss Blade was arraigned on 2 counts of reckless child endangerment and 1 of false imprisonment. She showed up in a gray suit, trying to look professional. But they still put her in handcuffs after she pleaded not guilty. Bail was $50,000. She posted it that day. But seeing her in cuffs, that felt like our first real victory. The district's lawyers came back with a bigger settlement. Covered all medical bills. Therapy for 5 years. Huge number, but still an NDA. Katie and I fought them for 3 days. We wanted language that let us speak at schools about allergy safety. They said no, until we threatened to reject it all and go to trial. They caved. They added the carve-out, plus money for a foundation in Tommy's name. The school held a mandatory assembly, a moment of silence for Tommy. Half the kids were on their phones, whispering. One kid actually said, Tommy was probably depressed anyway. I walked out, threw up in the bathroom. Katie stayed, recording it all. The State Board of Education met. They voted unanimously to revoke Miss Blade's teaching certificate permanently. It was posted in the public records database. She couldn't even teach at private schools. Then, she filed a wrongful termination lawsuit. Claimed she was a scapegoat. Called us manipulative children who orchestrated a performance. I found it online at 2 a.m. Read every page. Emt found me crying at 4 a.m. Took my laptop away. Set up blockers. Helped me find a trauma therapist. We met with the lawyers one last time. Signed the settlement papers. The money covered everything. And we could still speak about what happened, focusing on safety reforms. It wasn't perfect justice. Nothing could bring Tommy back. But at least we got something real. Something we fought for. And won. That night, Katie typed up a mission statement. Sarah listed every school board meeting in the state. Jack designed a logo, Tommy's initials inside a medical cross. I wrote down everything we wanted to change about emergency protocols. We filed paperwork for Tommy's Law, an official nonprofit. Social media accounts. Thousands of followers. Our first school board meeting was 3 towns over. Sarah's mom drove us. Box of flyers. Hearts pounding. I stood at that podium and told them about watching Tommy's eyes swell shut while our teacher ate peanuts and laughed. Katie showed them the video someone had recorded. Sarah read statistics about kids dying from allergies. Jack presented our proposal, mandatory unlocked medical cabinets. Quarterly training. The board voted yes. Parents cried. We hit 12 more districts that month. Every single one passed our reforms. Local news picked up the story. Calls from other states. We spoke at a national education conference. I had to leave the stage twice to use my inhaler. Sarah's mom drove us everywhere. Made sandwiches. Katie kept a spreadsheet. By month 3, over 200 schools. Jack got us meetings with state legislators. They started drafting actual laws. I testified at the state capitol. EpiPen in my pocket. Hand shaking. 6 months. I check every food label twice. Carry 3 EpiPens. My therapist says the nightmares about blue lips and foam will fade. But I still wake up gasping sometimes. Miss Blade's trial starts next month. The prosecutor says we have a solid case for criminal negligence and false imprisonment. Tommy's parents sent us a letter. But his mom couldn't stop crying at his memorial service last week. The rage isn't drowning me anymore, but it's still there. When I see peanut butter in stores. When I hate teachers complain about overprotective parents. We couldn't bring Tommy back. But we made sure Miss Blade will never have the power to hurt another kid again. This whole journey, it's been something else. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Seriously, I need to know, what would you have done in my place, trapped in that room? And have you ever faced someone who refused to believe you about something so serious? Let me know in the comments below.